Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Today, just like the thumbnail shows, we're going to load up some Winchester AA HS hulls with 11/16 or 300 grains of number 7 steel shot. So this is mainly, I put this together and I did this, number one, a lot of AA hulls out there um, that people, they just shoot for skeet. And obviously there's our great reloading hulls. A lot of skeet ranges, some states, some wildlife management areas, federal areas are now steel shot only. So I wanted to do a steel load in the AA that we could utilize at the skeet range. Um, Quail, doves, stuff like that. So um, that's kind of what we got going on here. Um, this load I had tested back in 2018. Here's the results right here. The load data on this came back 10,733 psi at 1,301 feet per second. I have pressure trace data that I use on the same load, and I ran it through the pressure trace. I had a 5-shot string, and my pressure trace data comes up at 11,097 psi at 1,293 feet per second. The original load was with number 4 shot, so there could be a little bit of change in psi there. And keep in mind, pressure trace is just a tool. Pressure trace is not SAMI by any standards. It's a tool that I use, and I think a lot of folks use it to just get an idea of where you're at with loading. Uh, I feel, though, that when it's calibrated to known loads, it's pretty daggum accurate. So let me just say this. When you hear me uh, referencing pressure trace data or any kind of PSI, the only time I'm ever talking about SAMI approved is if I've had it tested and I know for a fact that it's SAMI approved, or if I'm just referring to SAMI specs like 12,500 psi for a 28 gauge or 410s at 13.5 or whatever. So I want to. I just sometimes it can get very confusing when you see this kind of stuff right here. Uh, if you ever see somebody post this kind of stuff up online, this is not SAMI testing. It's literally a reference. Okay, it's just a tool that people use. Um, this is obtained by strain gauge hooked to a barrel. Can it be accurate? Yeah, it can be accurate, but it is by no means a way to come up with uh, or quote SAMI pressures. Okay, just want to make sure everybody knows that. So anyway, uh, let's get you over here. We'll put a few of these together. I've got patterns that I did. I patterned these at 25 yards. I did that more for the skeet folks. I know when you're shooting skeet, you're going to be into that 17 to 22 yard range. So I did a 25 yard pattern. And then I also went out to 35 yards. I feel like you could probably take a dove or a quail at 35 if this thing is choked right. So I've got patterns. We'll take a look at those, and then we may come back for some closing comments and go from there. So let's get you over here on this side of the bench. So the components of this load, we've got Winchester AA HS hull. Here's the deal. Okay, I recorded this the other day. Went back to do the editing and putting it all together, and the sound was terrible. I don't know, you literally, you can't understand what I'm saying in the videos. So I'm gonna just talk about as much as I can remember what I was saying, and I'll probably show some of the footage of me actually doing the loading because the video is good. But basically, here are the components. AAHS hull. We're using TPS wads, right, from BPI. Little gun powder, and then of course number 7 steel shot. I'm running awful low, as you can tell. That's another reason why I'm not going to record the whole thing, is I'm almost out of shot, you know, patterning these or whatever. But one of the things that I was trying to point out when I was doing the actual loading sequence is the AA hull is short. So it doesn't offer the best volume. That's why we can only do 300 grains of steel in this load. Of course, you can do number 3, I'm sorry, well, yeah, I guess you could do number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The smaller shot obviously stacks down a little bit better. So the problem with this is a TPS wad is about the only wad that you can use safely with steel shot. And you know, when you put that thing in there, I mean, there ain't much room for powder and whatnot and a crimp, right? So 300 grains of powder, I'm sorry, 300 grains of shot, and 23 grains. I'll go ahead and tell everybody that's the secret recipe to this particular load. 23 grains of little gun. Not super powerful. It does get 1,300 feet per second. But anyway, there's just not enough room to put more shot because the pressure on this load is actually really low. I think Tom even mentioned that when these came back. He goes, look, this is a pretty anemic load. You could actually do more powder, you could do more shot. Well, the problem is you can't fit much more powder because it won't crimp unless you start cutting holes, and then the shot volume wouldn't increase anyhow. You know, about the only thing that you could add more powder is to trim the wad, reduce the shot, and then that would get you into a 5/8 ounce load, which is pretty much what this is from the factory. Is a 5/8 ounce. I think they listed at 1,300 feet per second. But anyway, you'll notice I've probably already cut over to me crimping and loading this. You're not going down real far on your pre-crimp. Again, don't go crazy on your pre-crimp. These AA hulls, they crimp up real nice, not having to do a big heavy pre-crimp. And then, of course, you know, the regular crimp. But I went out to the farm and I shot the patterning. So what I'm gonna do is, after we go through, you know, maybe a couple of sequences of me loading this on the bench, we'll cut out to the farm. And then after that, we'll go take a look at some patterns. Sorry about the video, guys. I apologize. It's just as frustrating for me as it is for people trying to watch these, because, you know, I look at a bunch of videos too, and I hate, you know, when they're edited all terrible or there's a ton of background noise and all this kind of stuff. But I went and bought a separate microphone that I thought was going to be just, y'all would be able to hear me much better. It turns out that, well, sometimes technology ain't that great. So we're just using the regular mic for now. So I will let this run maybe for a minute, maybe not, depending on how much of this has gone through, and then we'll cut out to the farm. You'll see me shooting these patterns, and then we'll come back and take a look at the patterns. 11/16 steel number 7s, Winchester AAHS hulls, 2 3/4 inch. This is cylinder choke. AAHS 11/16 ounce steel shot number 7. This is with a Skeet choke. At 25 yards. Actually, this is improved cylinder. Two 3/4 AAHS, improved cylinder. This is 35 yards. Number 7 steel shot, 300 grains. AAHS, 300 grains, number 7 steel, 35 yards, modified choke. Okay, this is a Carlson's improved modified sporting clays choke, 300 grains, number 7 steel shot, AAHS, 35 yards. All right, take number 2 on the patterns also. Sorry guys, I'm gonna go ahead and just redo these over. But anyway, this is cylinder choke at 25 yards. So I think I mentioned this earlier. We did this in 25 yards and 35 yards. Of course, 25 yards is geared more towards your skeet shooters. You know, they're going to be into 17 to 22, 25 yard range. You know, sporty clays might get out to 35. But anyway, so this would be 25 yards. Pretty tight right here. Of course, we've got a big gap down here. I don't really like that, but if you put that pattern with a clay moving through here, I mean, I'd say it's done, or a dove, or a quail. So this is an extended Carlson choke, cylinder choke right here. So let's look at improved cylinder. All right. So this is a factory flush improved cylinder out of this is out of the Pointer 28 gauge, and it's a pretty good looking pattern. Got a nice core, a few little tiny, you know, open spots. But again, I think for the clay shooter, that'd be a heck of a pattern. You know, for clays, obviously you're going to be able to kill a dove or a quail if you can put that pattern on top of them. So let's move out to 30 yards and let's see what that looks like. I'm sorry, 35 yards. All right, 35 yards. This is improved cylinder choke. It's not terribly bad. I mean, there's a couple of things going on. If I shot it 5 different patterns, you know, maybe these will get a little smaller. They might move around a little bit, but we still got a pretty nice core. I think that's acceptable at 35 yards. Again, it's not quite what it was at 25, that's for sure, but it's not terribly bad, not terribly bad. You know, the more I look at it, it's not that great. for that mini shot, yeah, it's probably not the best in the world. It actually could be much better. We got quite a few outside of the 30-inch circle right there. So let's take a look at modified. All right, modified choke. This is a factory flush modified out of the Pointer, and 247 pellets on the paper. Let me see how many. There was 243 with the improved cylinder at 35 yards. So there's only 4 more pellets on the whole entire page, but a lot of them are outside, just like the improved cylinder. And man, look at this kind of stuff. You know, I've said this before, a lot of times it seems like when you get a certain restriction with a certain shot, certain velocities maybe, patterns just do weird things. This is probably, you know, I mean, you got a core here. You can see that core area, but other than that, not real great. So let's take a look at improved modified. All right. Improved modified. I mean, you might can rewind and pause and switch back and forth between this one and modified, but I would submit that this is a much better pattern than the modified. Now, this is that extended improved modified choke from Carlson. It's their Sporting Clays choke. I think there was a picture of it in the video, sticking on the end of the gun barrel. A couple little blotches, but I mean, it's pretty nice and even. Well, actually one more pellet than the modified, but the pellets are mostly into the pattern. It's pretty neat to see that, you know, that this round reacted to choke like that. I mean, normally once you get past modified, steel doesn't do that great, but this is why you should pattern all your chokes. You know what? Maybe I should have shot it. Maybe I should have shot it through full. You know, I may go back and do a string through full. I would never go past 35 yards with 7-shot. I just don't think that, you know, I mean, it might break a clay past 35 yards, but as far as lethality on dove and quail and stuff, I just don't think we even need to go and see what it's going to do beyond 35, because it's probably not going to be very lethal beyond 35. But anyway, that's the patterns. We'll go back to the bench, do some final thoughts and whatnot, and we'll be done. All right. What y'all think about those patterns? Not bad for a you know, a skeet round, right? If you were in a non-toxic skeet club, WMA, something like that, probably pretty good option. So a little surprising with the choking and stuff with that improved modified. That was pretty interesting. You know, one thing as far as loading holes, man, steel shot is really economical. I mean, none of this stuff is economical anymore. I'll tell you that right now. And if you're into this, you know that. But a lot of times people say, man, is reloading worth it? Is reloading worth it? I tell you about the cheapest factory steel load that I can find is going to be in the $20 plus range per box. I mean, I think Midway had some Winchester stuff, and I think it was number 7-shot on sale. They may even still have it on sale, depending on when this video comes out. But anyway, it might have been $16 or $17 a box, which, I mean, that is almost as cheap as lead shot, you know, target shells that you're going to find out there right now. But to load these on today's prices, this is February of 2023 when I'm recording this, it's about $10.25 for 25 rounds. So $10.25 for a box. Steel's pretty inexpensive. The only thing that drives this type of load is the watt expense. You know, VPI, they have a market on this wad for non-toxic, you know, heavier than lead type shot that is going to give you full barrel protection. you know, and of course, in this particular load, 300 grains, this TPS wad holds every bit of that. Another thing is, even when you get into the 3/4 ounce, uh, like we did in the Fiocchi's, um, a little bit of that shot, you know, is above that wad column, but with setback, you know, it protects the barrel, I'm sure. And I'll tell you, the pointer that I patterned this round out of, and a lot of the stuff that I patterned is out of that pointer. Some of it is out of the Super Black Eagle 3. And I'll use the yield is over and under, the side by side. Well, not the side by side on the 28 gauge, but the over and under, a car pump, a lot of different guns. But that particular pointer that I patterned this with, man, I couldn't tell you how many rounds of steel, TSS, HW15, you know, and even lead that has gone through that gun. Lots. I'd say well over a couple thousand rounds, whether it was been hunting or you know, patterning, testing, that kind of stuff. And with all of that, I can clean that barrel. It's chrome lined, and I don't have a scratch, a scuff, a marred up spot on that barrel that I can see. You know, and that's under light with paper. I mean, it's just as clean and shiny as it has always been. And actually, all the choke tubes are the same too. That made me a different discussion that we can get into later on steel shot and gun and barrel damage with forcing cone or choke tube damage or whatever. But anyway, I think that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to get some more of these. It's so crazy how I've actually had this video preparing to have it go together for almost a week. But when I get into the editing phase, if you've never made a YouTube video that has different parts and pieces, there's a bit of time involved making it all kind of go together. And look, I'm the worst at it. I'm lucky that I can even get it to go together. But man, I tell you, when you record and you do all this stuff and your voice don't work, you know, it sounds all jumbledy, chopped up mess. Man, it just kind of threw me for a loop. And I'm like, what the heck's going on? Then I had another bunch of stuff that came up in life, and so I had to pause. So I know it's been a while since I had a video, but I'm going to try to get back into putting out some more stuff here shortly. But anyway, thank y'all for watching. Hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.